How can you achieve and maintain business growth? Harvard Business School Executive Education is now accepting applications for a new program, Driving Profitable Growth. Taking place in Boston from October 25th through the 28th, this program focuses on business expansion and organizational growth strategies that can lead your company into the future. Learn more about this 3-day program for senior leaders by visiting hbs.me/growth. That's hbs.me/growth.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Sim's Chat Corner. I seem to have more of a voice today, which is probably a good thing for Jordan. I'm very nervous and very excited, and I'm very sober today, unlike yesterday's interview where we had a little wine. So without further ado, I'm not going to keep Jordan holding because we have a great deal of ground to cover. So give me 2 seconds, and we'll be on with Jordan Ancel. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly fine, and I'm nervous. I'm just petrified. I'm like, you're such a mogul. I'm so nervous.
Oh my
I can't
God.
stand it. You've
nervous.
done, like, everything. I'm like, oh, my God, this dude's coming on my show. He's done, like, 5,000 things, and I don't measure up. So that's how I'm feeling.
Well,
I'm a very
nervous
casual
myself.
interview.
So,
oh, God,
good.
trust me.
Excellent.
Give me 5 minutes, and it's just going to be like you knew me for like 20 years. Yesterday's was like, if I can do 2.5 hours yesterday, we're good. I think we're going to be terrific.
Wow.
Fabulous. This is exciting.
Awesome.
Yes, but we have a lot of ground to cover because you're, like, important, and you've done a lot of stuff. And if I don't cover everything, Dana will yell at me. I'm kidding. She won't yell at me. I love Dana. She's absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
so
you want Dana on your
good
side for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's stay on the Dana side of things here real quickly and just say, hey, Dana Humphrey, because I know you're going to listen to this at some point. Thank you so much for another wonderful – I mean, her guests are all wonderful, and I'm not just saying that. I mean,
Dana's
literally.
awesome. I'm so happy to be working with her on our project.
Isn't she
so
lovely?
It's great.
She's so lovely.
She's amazing,
and she's beautiful. She's smart. She's the nicest gal. I finally got to meet her, 2 times now while I've been in New York, and I'm going to come back again. I can't wait to see her again. She's just fabulous. Some smart guy out there in New York, you got to snatch her up because she's adorable. Absolutely adorable. That's
right. I agree 100%.
Exactly.
I had the pleasure of meeting her in Vegas. This past, I think it was July, and she's just really wonderful.
Okay. She is. She's absolutely fabulous. I mean, and so humble and so sweet. And I'm just like, okay. So I never do a show without first saying, oh, my God, without the publicist, I wouldn't have Jordan. And without Jordan, oh, my God, I wouldn't have material. And I have so much to go on. I'm so excited. So we're going to start by we're going to do things a little simple first. So before we start turning to the businesses that you have and all the things that you lend your knowledge to, let's talk about the fact you have this impending 45th birthday, and I know that the new year is recent, and you just started what I would call the self-inspired accountability project for yourself, penned, of course, Project 330. I thought it'd be neat if you would just tell the listeners and your fans the what and the why surrounding that journey. What made you want to do this and why?
Okay, great. So this is a little bit of an involved answer. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible because I know you have a lot you want to cover.
Okay. I'm
going to turn 45 on November 30th. Of this year, and I've been in this. Entrepreneurs, we tend to work in this sort of self-contained bubble for a really long time, and so I've been in this bubble of launching this business. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm also a career coach and a life coach, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and artists. And I've seen some really amazing transformation in my clients, both on the professional side and on the artistic side and on the personal side. And I felt like it was really time to challenge myself for a couple of reasons. One, I think having accountability is the hardest thing for any person to do if they work for themselves and often by themselves if you're an entrepreneur or an artist. What I like to call a solopreneur, right? So it's really hard to remain accountable when you don't have anyone to, show your results to or get feedback from until you launch something or until you are hired for something or until you create something and it's out there in the world. And I wanted to be an example to all of my clients that we can still remain accountable to ourselves and get the results we want in our life and achieve our goals. And the way I decided to do it was launch a blog called Project 330, and I'll explain the title in a moment, where I was going to document on a weekly basis my process of achieving some major life goals. Now, I've already accomplished some things in my life, which I'm really proud of, but I felt it was really time to push myself because I'm sort of cruising along doing my thing. Right. And I think at any point when someone feels comfortable, it's time to inject a little energy, a little stimulus to get us to that next level of life. So I thought, well, if I don't have an accountability partner other than my wife and my dog, and you never really want your spouse to be your accountability partner because you don't want them to be the one nagging you like, oh, when are you going to get up and get your butt to the gym, right?
Right.
So I thought, well, I'm going to make my audience my accountability partner. I'm going to blog about it, and if I don't follow through, I'm going to look like, one, a real jerk, and two, like I'm a total hypocrite, which I'm not. You know, I like to think that I eat my own dog food. You know, my dog would appreciate that.
Sure.
So, you know, in order to remain accountable, I chose the audience. So I thought I'll blog about it. I'll detail my process, my thought process, and exactly what I'm doing to achieve certain life goals. And I have certain physical goals that I want to achieve. I have certain career goals and financial goals and family goals and some personal things, which I'm going to talk about very frankly in the blog. Now, the reason it's called Project 330 was because it started on January 5th. January 5th to November 30th is 330 days. So I have 330 days to achieve my goals and to blog about them. So
I gotcha. It makes perfect sense. But actually, I was impressed by that. That takes a lot for you because you're becoming a public sort of mentionable, notable sort of figure. So obviously, of course, you're throwing it all out there, which I love.
Tell me. It's very scary for me because, you know, it's I'm putting myself out there, so I'm very vulnerable because, you know, I'm a human being just like everybody else. I have my fears and insecurities. I have my, you know, body issues and, you know, my own neuroses, you know, growing up a nice Jewish boy from New York, right? So,
oh, sure.
You know, for me to put that out there and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. And look, I'm no smarter than anybody else, really. If I can do this, if I can, you know, be accountable to myself and set goals for myself and achieve them, anybody can do it. So that's the main reason why I want to show people my process, because I want to be able to inspire people to live the lives that they want to live, to achieve the goals that they want. Because, look, if anybody like me can do it, then certainly someone a lot smarter with more means, with more connections can do whatever they need, you know, so.
You're killing me listening to this. It's someone smarter, someone that's, I'm like, is he aware of just how brilliant he is? Are you completely unaware of who you are? I guess I have to do this interview
I get by all right, I guess.
I get by all right. Just wait, listeners. Just wait. And then after question 10 or 11, it's going to be like, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the dude. So first of all, I wanted to bring that Project 330 up for a reason, because obviously, you know, I'm very big, and I've seen you on my wall on occasion. So you can see I keep it very real. And I know people tell me, oh, you're some public figure. You know what? I'm still me. You know, if you hand me $1 million tomorrow, you have to be true to yourself. And I admire and I advocate anyone who does something like you are doing, which is going out on a scary limb for themselves and saying, I'm going to try to do this, darn it. I'm really going to go and I'm going to do it. So kudos to you. And I'll be 100% backing on that. And I will be on your proverbial ass, so to speak, if you screw it up. So I'm just going to tell you that right off the bat.
I appreciate that. Well, that's why I'm doing this. I need people like you to keep me straight.
Hey, trust me. I'll tell you, I got no problem getting people's faces, that's for sure. I got this whole biker community that's taught me how to get in someone's face. I'm like, this is great. We're good.
Awesome.
So the next kind of personal thing I want to talk about, because when I first looked at you, I thought to myself, this dude is just really going to be, you know, when you think of an individual who helps to start up businesses and things like that, I don't want to call you nerdy, but I'm going to say, you know what? He looks like he could be a little straight. So I'm like, I'm going to make him talk about things that probably make him go out of his shell, so to speak. So I'm big on that, just so you know.
Great.
So I'll probably embarrass you once or twice, but that's okay. So I can't forget to mention this because I'm all about the love on my show and in real life. I know that you're newly nuptialed, meaning that you and your lovely lady have made it almost 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Almost 2 years on the marriage front?
That is correct. Yeah, actually just over a year and a half, so yes. Closer to 2 years, yes.
The fact that you're mega popular, is that like a problem? Is she kind of like, oh, I'm just Mrs. Ancel here? Do you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes that can happen.
You know, it's not, because she's also mega popular. She's the VP of a big talent agency, and she does a lot of public speaking. And, you know, so if anything, I think, you know, I'm keeping up with her.
Really?
You know, she's a real dynamo. Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, I'm probably more in the public more just because, you know, I grew up sort of in the entertainment industry. And you know, I'm used to, you know, embarrassing myself. So
I understand exactly what you're
I think
talking about.
Yeah, but she's very supportive, and you know, as I am of her, and if anything, it's inspiring that to me, because if people think I'm popular, that's only because I'm helping other people, which means, okay, so what I teach people or what I help them with is having an effect on the world, and that is what I really appreciate about, you know, quote, popularity. I don't think I'm popular, but if you think I'm popular, that's fantastic. I love that.
Well, hello.
I wasn't very popular when I was in school, so this is good.
Let's think. You have Dana Humphrey as a publicist. All the enterprises I'm going to list that you've initiated, on top of which you're talking to me, and I kind of think that's cool. Anytime I get to talk to a celebrity, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm excited. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm totally excited. And by the way, folks, his wife is just cute as a damn button. Oh, my God. That wife you got is very pretty, very pretty.
Thank you.
I always admire
I got a good deal.
Very pretty, very smart. You did. You got a tremendous deal. And you actually complement each other very well, because I have creeped on your page and I've looked at your pictures. And what's so cute is that Jordan has stated on a number of occasions he has this deep love for the date night stuff that you do. And I've seen the different sorts of things. So it bugged at me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go there and I'm going to ask him. So I have a kind of a hard time picturing Jordan being the Romeo in the situation. So typically, who does the date night stuff? Is that you or the wife, or is it a combination of things?
It's a combination. You know, I'm actually a very romantic person. I always, you know, I grew up like loving Shakespeare and all the romantic tragic comedies of you know, like Oscar Wilde and things like that as well. So you know, and growing up on romantic comedy movies, you know, I'm the girl. You know, like I wanted the big wedding. I mean, she did too, but like my whole life I like envisioned, like, you know, storybook, you know, fantasy wedding tales. So, you know, every you know, like when we even got engaged, it was a very romantic setting. I planned the whole thing. It was a total surprise. I knocked her off her feet. And, you know, our date nights, I think we extend to that too. Now, sometimes date night is just, hey, let's go, you know, see a movie or dinner. But we really like to make time for ourselves. And she's a very romantic person also, because, you know, she's the warmest person I know. She's given me so much love that it's just incredible. Like, I've never felt, other than, you know, I mean, parental love is different, right? But from a human being, I've never felt this kind of love from anybody. So it's really changed my life and changed my outlook on love and marriage, because I was actually married once before, you know, and you know, after that I thought I'd never get married again, and then I met Brianna, and like after like the second date, I was like, oh my God, I could totally see myself married to this woman. Like, it was amazing. She's just so full of love. And it's, what's wonderful is it lets me express how much love I have. So, you know, I think it's a really good match.
I'm going to cry right now
so the date
on the show right now.
Me too.
I'm crying right now. This is like choking me up. It's amazing, isn't it? It begs to ask me to ask you the question, and the obvious question, which I think is obvious. Am I wrong or inaccurate in my way of thinking in that when you're in a very loving relationship with a very loving partner, which doesn't always happen in Hollywood or in some other fields, because I know you've done acting and other things, et cetera, in some fields or in most fields, especially if you're a public figure, things tend to fail on the love life side of things. So am I wrong in thinking that the more of a loving partner, more supportive, and more in love that you are, basically, it just improves everything threefold? Your products, your everything is better because of that proponent, or that component of love, I should say.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000%, Sin. I mean, you know, without the kind of support that you get from a loving relationship, I think it's very difficult to feel validated, to share your fears with somebody. You know, like, we talk honestly. You know, the great thing about being in this relationship, other than the fact of, you know, that we love each other so much, is that we really communicate well with each other. And we talk about our fears. We talk about our hopes and our dreams. But when we're vulnerable with each other, you know, she's very nurturing. So, you know, if people can find that in their lives, and not many people can, I'm very fortunate, you know, that I found it. You know, I think it really makes a difference across the spectrum of one's entire life. You know, I think you're entirely correct about that. You know,
Thank you.
I think the problem with I'm not a relationship expert. I only know about my relationship, right? And I know a little bit about people. I've studied people, right? But
sure.
I think when people in Hollywood, or not even in Hollywood, just in life, things are rocky. They don't, they stray to other people. I think, we tend to live our lives in a comparative way, and we tend to have this fantasy idea of what we want, right? Instead of looking at who we are, who the other person is in the moment, and what we can offer each other and how good we are together. Is marriage easy? No. Is it difficult? No. It's what you make it, right? So, look, I think one of the reasons why I think our marriage works so well is because, a long time ago when we first met, I just decided she was going to be right about everything, and I'm a lot happier. I'll tell you the truth.
I love that.
Because
yes, dear.
I used to be a very volatile person. I'm a fire sign. I'm a triple Sag, so I'm a little crazy, right?
Oh.
And I was raised an only child, so my whole life it was always about me. So it was always very difficult.
Sure.
Like I've been in a lot of relationships in my life, but not a lot of serious ones, right? And I think what the change was giving up all the things that I felt I needed to be right about. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is, do you love the person? Do they love you? Do you support each other? And are you there to support each other for your entire lives? And you communicate in an open and honest way so you both get what you need out of the relationship, which is essential. Open, honest communication. And that's what she and I have, and we barely argue about stuff. I mean, we get into some things like, here's my opinion, I think we need this, because we really talk about everything. And I think if you have that communication, it allows room for the love, rather than harboring, feelings of resentment because this person does that or this person does that. Instead of harboring resentment, you say, I don't really like it when this happens. Can we change that? And then there's a communication about it, and then things change, and both people are happier. So, and that's really all about communication, right? Which is true of life, right? If you communicate with anybody in any relationship, business or personal, it's going to absolutely affect everything. The quality of your communication. I think Tony Robbins said it, the quality of your communication represents the quality of your life. So, and I actually really believe that. Yeah.
Look at that. My goodness. Now, that would probably explain why I suck at life, because I don't have a partner that's supportive. I don't have a partner. I think that has something to do with it. But that's okay. I'm going to keep doing my show. I know. It's so frustrating. Oh, no, darling. You live in L.A., right? Oh, my God. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I've been to L.A. I'm coming back to L.A. to visit. They're a creeper there. And they're a creeper there, right? I mean, I love some of my peeps from L.A., but...
Yeah,
I
think if we're going to sort of blanket generalize LA mentality, it's typically all about me, my career, what can I do, who can help me, right? So we don't really put attention on the other people in our lives, whereas, I try to live my life putting the attention on other people. So, I think once we become self-obsessed and self-absorbed, because, that's what a lot of people do in this town. It's about their own ego and what they're getting from a relationship. Then there's no room for that genuine love or connection, because we're always thinking about what can we get out of the relationship. And I think a better question to ask in life, rather than what can we get out of something, is what can we give, right?
Correct.
Because
I agree 150%.
If we give more, so maybe, I still have ties to the East Coast. Maybe I can, or I might have some ties in the Midwest. I don't know.
Well, here's the issue. No musicians, because the musicians break your heart. And I'm going to tell you, the actors aren't much different, because I'm like, been there, done that too. So I'm kind of like,
but at least the musicians will write a song about you, and then you could be like,
oh, isn't that great? I know, right? That wench broke my heart, ... sort of thing, right? Yeah, I have a lot of, the difficult part, I think, is when, and you know this yourself, once you start to get a little more established and people know who you are and they recognize me now from radio or books or otherwise, it's intimidating for someone. I've been told that a lot. A guy can't walk up to you because you're good looking, you're smart, you have this package. And the people that I know, sometimes people just gravitate to you because, they want to meet this person or this person. It's tough, and I'm a single mom, so there's a lot going on. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, sure.
I think.
Sure.
Definitely. So I'm going to probably turn gay
next week definitely
or
be
quit.
Tough.
Exactly. But,
well, you don't want to quit.
I've thought about quitting about a million times over, but it's kind of like, you know what? I want to believe
your audience
out there.
needs you.
It's the belief. Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have to stop.
I think
I can't ever talk to Jordan or anyone again.
No, I think what keeps me sane, and I think, what could keep you sane too, is just make sure that we're surrounded by the people who really know us, our real friends, our real core group of people who aren't yes people, who aren't, rabid fans, and just sort of appreciate the fandom, but also appreciate the fact that you have this whole other life outside of the public figure thing, I mean, my wife and I, sometimes we just sit at home and have our date nights here, because that's nice. We huddle up. We got the puppy. We snuggle. We watch a movie. We'll order some takeout or whatever. But look, we love going out too. I mean, don't get me wrong. We like going out, but
of course,
it's
who doesn't?
But you surround yourself with people. Make sure you keep in touch with your friends and vent to them. Because you're probably the type of person that everybody vents to, right? Especially since you have a radio show and you're a personality.
Yes.
But you've got to be able to take that time and say, okay, my turn. Here's what I'm going through. I need a pep talk. Look, I coach like businesses and individuals. I still need pep talks from my core group of friends because, again, I'm human. I mean, we all go through the same emotional range every day, right? So it's no different for you or for me or for anybody. So, we still need that validation.
I got to
get
better
friends.
on that. I know, I totally do, and I know it's difficult because, there's, definitely. Well, you've seen my personal page, and you were kind enough to give me a hug the other day. Yeah. That's one of the benefits of those people I've met, either through shows or some of my closest friends. And it's nice to see the people we reach out to because you've earned that. I need to learn how to open my big trap and say, I'm in a lot of trouble. I need some help. I need someone to listen to me. I'm just bad at that, but I agree. And hopefully Prince Charming will come before I'm dead because I'm like at 45 and not getting any younger, so we'll have to see.
I'm sure it's going to happen.
I'm glad to hear
and
you
it's
have
okay
a great
to be
love
picky
life.
too, Yeah.
Really?
Thank you.
Just not in LA because I'm scared of them people. LA scares me. I'm telling you, I can't hook up with anybody from LA, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
It can be scary.
Now, you live there.
My wife's not from here.
Me.
She's from Northern California, so
Ding, ding.
I married a cute surfer girl from Santa Cruz.
How cute is that? Oh my gosh! All right, now I want to talk about some of your side scenarios because we'll eventually get to your primary, which is what I'm certain a good deal of people recognize you for, which is the Pimp My Pooch, I should say. I want to talk a little bit about, to those that don't know, Killer Photography. So Killer Photography offers services to, as I understand it, both adults and adolescents. I cite that you currently are located in 5 areas, which being the San Francisco, New York City, LA, Australia, and New Zealand. So I also wanted to mention to people, in case they don't know, that you used to have a prior residency in New Zealand. So there's a couple different questions I want to ask you about this. First off, maybe tell me of how the culture is from a creative standpoint as it relates to New Zealand, because oftentimes people don't go to New Zealand, they don't know much about it. Talk to me a little bit about the differences between what you see there, what you see here, and how you got prompted to start an actual photography business there in New Zealand.
Yeah, sure. So back in 2009, I woke up one morning needing a break from LA, and and I had just gotten separated from my first wife, and I'm like, I don't need to be in LA for a little while. I need to just, take some personal time. I literally looked at the map and said, where's the farthest I could go that's warm in December? So, I had all these air miles, so I'm like, oh, New Zealand looks good. So I literally just booked the one-way ticket to New Zealand. And
oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I did very little research because I kind of wanted it to be, I wanted the universe to unfold, right, and sort of present itself to me. So I literally did not have any plans beyond my first night there. And at the time, I was still doing photography full-time. I don't really do much photography now except for just personal projects. And, I was doing headshots and editorial and some lifestyle photography. I'd shot for some magazines here in LA and some stills on film and TV shows. But I said, you know what, I'm going to just rent out my place I'm going to just go to New Zealand and see what happens. I've never been to New Zealand. I've been fascinated with it. And thinking it's the farthest place away that's warm, it'll be great.
Okay.
So here's a little note. It's not very warm.
Don't go there because you're going to be cold, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So basically, I basically sold everything I owned except for my place and rented it out. I took with me my laptop, a camera, a nice suit, and some jeans and some T-shirts, and I showed up in New Zealand. And after backpacking a little while and having a long-distance relationship with Brianna because we had just met before I left, we thank God for Skype. I explored the country. I met some great people, and at a certain point, I thought, well, I'm getting rent for my place, but it's really not enough. So I need to maybe work a little bit, and I'm a photographer. I can work anywhere in the world. So I had met some people. They introduced me to, New Zealand is a very small country, and everybody literally knows somebody who knows somebody. So I met this person who was a writer, and she was kind enough to introduce me to a marketing person at TVNZ, which is the main network in New Zealand. And it was a phone interview, and she says, "Oh, you're a photographer. I saw your site. You're in Hollywood. Yes, can you shoot some advertisements for our new news programs?" And I'm like, so do we need to meet? Because, here in LA, to get work as a photographer, you really have to hustle. And I mean, it's a full-time job just trying to get the work. And, like it is in any artistic endeavor. So I was really surprised that they just kind of looked at my website and hired me off the website. And what the culture is there, it's a culture of warmth and generosity and, here in LA or in New York or even San Francisco, I would have to really like do tons of outreach and, work my connections to book gigs because I didn't have a photography agent at the time. And in New Zealand, I shot this thing for TVNZ, which was a billboard campaign for their news anchors for their new news program because they were rebranding it. And a couple of days later, I got a call from a magazine in New Zealand, New Idea. They said, "Oh, Andy Brotherston from TVNZ just referred you as an awesome photographer. We have this cover story we're doing. Can you shoot it?" Like, that would never happen in the States, Just a cold call, by someone taking the initiative that you've just worked for to recommend you for, So I worked like crazy in New Zealand. So, I was planning on traveling a lot, backpacking a little bit through Asia and whatever, but I ended up living in New Zealand because I was just working so much just off of referrals. And so it was really an incredible experience. And I still have a lot of really close friends in New Zealand. People have come and visited here in the States and stayed with us. Yeah, so it's really, really great. And yeah, so that's kind of how the New Zealand experience was of, and the reason I decided to come back was because, Brianna and I had this long distance relationship, and she'd come to New Zealand, and then we also, met in Fiji for her birthday, one of her birthdays. I had a lot of air miles, so I was able to fly her out.
Nice.
And so I decided to come back because she was nominated for Top Agent of the Year. And I thought, my first thought was, I would love to be there for that. So then when I thought that, I'm like, then I should just go home and be with Brianna. So that's what made me come back. So, and then when I came back, and then when I came back, I was still, doing some photography, but, it wasn't really one that I wanted to do full time anymore. And I had worked in startups, and I had worked in advertising, and I had, been a business consultant helping other businesses. So I thought, I think it's time to start another business, and, and so I did.
Now, I got a tricky question for you, because I've often wondered this, because, of course, I'm terrible at having my picture taken. I hate it. I'm like, oh, my gosh. But the one thing that I've always been intrigued about when I get the pictures back, I ask myself, how does a proficient portrait taker learn to capture that one right moment where you get both the poise and the pose perfectly?
Right. So in all the photography I've ever done, aside from still photography on movie sets and TV shows, because they have directors, right? They're directing the action.
Right.
I think any good photographer has to be a really good director, a director of people. If you're just telling people to pose and tilt your head this way or do this thing, you're not going to get anything genuine. I really try to direct people as if I were directing them in a movie or a TV show, because I've directed theater, I've directed, music video, I've directed other things, I've directed, other stuff, right? And, I was an actor for a period of time and I've produced some things. So, I think, applying all of those skills of working with people and having run businesses and been in business, and being able to communicate needs to people, I think, translating that into directing a subject like a model or an actor or even just a real estate. I used to shoot real estate agents and get really great things from them. And they're not actors. They don't know what to bring to a shoot in terms of mentality or attitude, right? But again, it's that communication skill of being able to direct somebody in a supportive way to get what you want while you're just snapping the photos, right? I tend to overshoot because, I'm trying to capture those in-between moments of what I am directing and their thought process. When you can capture their thought process on camera, when they come to that epiphany and are just about to do what you're asking, that's where that magic is, right? So I think, developing your director skills. No, it's okay, sorry. So any photographer who's starting out, I would say develop your directing skills. In addition to your photography, technical photography skills, you want to develop your people skills and communication skills so you can get what you need from people and then capture those moments. And then it makes the subject feel really inspired and having fun and good. And, a lot of the outtakes from my photo sessions are the models laughing or the actors having a good time. Because, I joke with them. I ask them embarrassing personal questions,
Oh, really? Look at that. The guy that says, it's all about that communication, and he starts this interview, I'm nervous. Yeah, I'm like, okay, really, you don't have any communication problems as I can see here. You're flowing along just fine. Thank you very much. Curious to ask this because I'm a huge fan of this, and I get told often that the pictures that I take best in are the black and white photos. Is that just something that most photographers don't tend to do? Because I don't see a lot of black and white unless I'm just living under a rock. It just seems as though photographers kind of shy away from the whole black and white element. Am I mistaken in this, or?
No, I think most people shoot color photography. Just because, one, most people are shooting digital now, so they don't convert their photos to black and white. I love. If I'm shooting digital, I always choose my favorite photos that I think would look good in black and white. To me, it depends on the mood of the photo, on the expression of the person's face, on the lighting. Does it look better in black and white? Is it more dramatic? Is there more feeling associated with black and white than there is with color? I don't know. I think it's a personal preference, and I think that, I've been a professional photographer since I was 17. I got paid for my first gig when I was 17. And, I grew up shooting film, right? And mostly black and white because it was cheaper. So, back in the 80s and, early 90s, before digital really came, smaller companies or, individuals who needed photography would shoot black and white for even advertisements because it was cheaper, right? And this is like local ads and stuff like that. I'm not talking about major corporations here. I'm talking about like local businesses and things like that. But then, when and all actors' headshots were black and white for sure. So when I was in New York, I actually started shooting color headshots for people when I was supporting myself as a headshot photographer, and then came out to LA to shoot color. And people thought I was nuts because I was still shooting on film because that was before digital. And I think, just digital photography, and now everybody takes pictures with their phone. They're all color. Yeah, people use filters on apps and things like that. But I think people just don't think about black and white anymore as an expressive medium. And I love it. My favorite camera is still a medium format camera that shoots 12 images per roll. And every function on it is manual. And it's the kind where you kind of look down and everything is backwards and upside down. That's still my favorite camera. It's in the Mia. But, you know, nobody's going to want to hire anybody to shoot film because it's very expensive these days, and they want to see it downloaded to the laptop immediately and color corrected and then online in like 20 minutes.
Right.
So it's, you know, so I think
and let's get
digital,
real.
Yeah, exactly.
The digital, I was just going to say, now I'm asking this as a photographer question because, of course, you know, you got Meghan Trainor running around singing about it's all about that bass and the bigger girls and all this good stuff. So, you know, my other question to you regarding this is this. In the age of today's technology, you could really take my fat butt and make me look thin, couldn't you? You could literally just squeeze out all that little fat, right, and be like, oh, look at you, you're hottie, right?
You know, well, first of all, I doubt you have any of that. And second of all, look, if so I think it was on HuffPost today. You know, Justin Bieber just did a Calvin Klein shoot for underwear.
Yes.
And they totally photoshopped him so he looks bigger than his muscles look bigger than he actually is. So it's not just the women that now, right. I mean, we hear about women being photoshopped to, you know, quote perfection, but it's happening to everybody. And I'm not an advocate of that at all. In fact, oh man, it was like a couple of weeks ago, someone found my photography site, and I got this voicemail, and I was actually just about to go into a show to see a friend perform in a theater gig, and the voicemail was from this guy. He wanted some pictures done. I don't really shoot a whole lot anymore, but I'm curious. You know, if somebody calls me, I'm going to call them back and see what they need, because, you know, if I can do it, I will. If I don't, I'll refer them. And the guy's like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to get into People magazine. I just lost, you know, like half my weight, but you know, I still want to lose a little more, but I have to send these photos in. Can you Photoshop me to look smaller? And I said,
oh my God,
would be lying. No, I can't do that. I'm happy to take your picture, but I'm not going to Photoshop you. He's like, okay, thank you very much. So, you know, I think, you know, because, you know, we can see that, you know, we can look perfect in photos, you know, that even, you know, I'm guilty of it too. I've taken out lines in my face in some photos for some Facebook profile pictures, you know, but you know, I think now that we have this technology, photography, let me just say this. What inspired me to be a photographer was not just the love of capturing a moment. It was the love of being a historian. Right? Because when you take a picture, you're capturing a moment in time and history, whatever kind of picture it is. You know, that nature shot is going to be different in 20 minutes. That street shot, that journalism, whatever it is, you know, the world is in a constant state of flux. So capturing a moment, you know, and having that picture represent something and people impose their own meaning on it, you know, I thought was just a beautiful expression of art. But now what is happening is photography is no longer truthful. Because of Photoshop, because of Lightroom, because of all these other photography manipulation techniques that we're utilizing. And I'm not an advocate of that for models because I think it sends a really poor message to people that, you know, this is what a handful of people think perfection is, and we are going to show the world this in all media and advertise that this is what perfection is, when it's really not. Like, so that song, All About the Bass, I really love it. You know, I think the message is obviously, you know, pretty on the nose. And, you know, I agree 100%. I mean, I think the natural beauty of someone is what excited me about photography in the first place. So why would I want to manipulate that later?
Of course.
You know, now, sure,
I love
you know,
that.
if you're doing actors' headshots, they have to, like, you know, take out blemishes and things like that. But I'm not going to make anybody look thinner or, you know, bigger busted or have bigger biceps. Like, that's just ridiculous to me. It's like, if we can't appreciate people for who they are, then, you know, that's a societal problem. And it's only exacerbated by, you know, magazines and, you know, digital manipulation, even in film. You know, I think, what was it? I think, you know, years ago, Lindsay Lohan was in, like, that Disney movie where they actually digitally reduced her breast size. So now we're saying that big breasts are terrible if they're naturally occurring. And it's like, you can't win either way, right? You're not good enough no matter what.
Ew.
You know,
right?
Too skinny or too well endowed, or, you know, like, who's deciding this? Like,
I know, right? It's like them. It's the theys of the world. They decided this, and it just cracks me. It cracks me up, and I'm totally on board with you as far as that goes. Be real or don't be anything. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I think, when we're growing up, when we're really impressionable, sure, kids can be mean and teased and bullied, right? But when it's, if we're not taught at a young age to love who we are and to, to love how we look, and we're going to always live our lives in a comparative way to other people, but everybody is different. Look, there's the simple facts that people's genetic makeup is going to make them look more muscular or more stocky, and that's not, there's, 3 different body types genetically: mesomorphic, ectomorphic, and I forget what the other one is. It's just, but that's genetics, right? So, like, genetically, right. I'm not going to be a tall, lanky, 6'2", wiry person. I'm not.
Right.
But I love who I am, and I work with what I got. And do I want to improve my looks by working out? Sure, but that's just because I want to live longer. And if it makes me look better, great.
Exactly. You do okay, Jordan. You're all right. I'd tell you if you were ugly, so you're doing just fine. I'm kind of blunt that way. I'd be like, dude, you need to change.
Look, I've had my nose broken a couple of times. I've got a funky nose. So am I perfect? Of course not. But nobody is. But do I like my nose? Yeah, most days. On the right camera angle, sure. Am I going to get a nose job? No, because this is who I am.
I was going to say, did you just say you're not perfect? Because you just shot it. I was walking into this interview 2 hours ago saying, dude's perfect, and you're wrecking it for me. You're telling me all your frailties.
I know.
You're supposed to be focusing on all the good.
Everybody's tuning out now, right? Yeah,
I know. They're like, who wants to talk to Debbie Downer here, right? Now, the one other thing I wanted to mention, but that's okay, photography-wise, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Some may not know that you were actually given the privilege to photograph William Shatner for his Lifetime Achievement Award. So I just thought it'd be kind of neat. What was that experience like? Because most of us don't get a chance to meet somebody that legendary. So how did all of that go?
Yeah, he was absolutely amazing. I photographed him a few years ago, actually, for his Lifetime. He's Canadian. I don't know if some people probably don't know that. Some people do.
I didn't know
If you're a big William Shatner fan, you're probably So, in fact, I don't think most people know that, but he's Canadian. And so Canada was presenting him with a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I had met this director who was shooting this sort of funny bit for the award ceremony here in L.A. because, he lives here part-time at least. And, I said to the director, I don't know if you need a photographer to shoot this thing. And he's like, I do. He's like, well, but we don't have it in the budget. I said, you know what? I'm going to offer my services for free because I want to shoot William Shatner. And, look, that was an experience and an opportunity that few people get. I wanted to jump at it. So they invited me down to the set to photograph William Shatner. He was the most gracious, funny guy. And at 7 a.m, he walks in with full of energy and happy to be there and patting people on the back and, shook my hand. And he said, so you're going to make me look good, right? And I said, you already look good. And he says, I like you already.
Oh, look at that. That's cool.
He said, if it were time for, and he's like, if it were time for a scotch, I'd have one with you. And I'm like, okay, well, it's 7 a.m, probably not time for one. But but he was really a really gracious, funny man. And I'm so grateful for that experience. And I've shot a few really incredible people. I've shot Gore Vidal in his home here in L.A. He was also another incredible person. I've been very fortunate to shoot some, pretty big icons in the world. I've shot Carrie Fisher, and also, she's also incredible. Just a lovely, generous, wonderful human being. And I think a lot of people would look at celebrities and think, you've got to be crazy or super self-absorbed to be famous, and in some cases that's true, but I've been fortunate that everybody I've ever met or worked with personally has been really lovely.
Does that mean that you've looked or have you ever photographed? I have a celebrity crush, and I'm doing a film about it actually, but I keep hoping that I'll meet someone who'll come on my show and say I know him, but you may not know him. He's a Canadian too. Kiefer Sutherland. You haven't shot him, have you?
I have not. I'm a big Kiefer Sutherland fan too. I would love to meet him. I'm sure, I've heard he's a wonderful human being, so I would like to meet him. I think he's probably pretty cool.
He's pretty
he's a
hot.
total badass
I'm not going to lie.
But,
and he's a total badass in real life. The man's getting arrested and jumping into Christmas trees and taking his pants down. So he's really kind of he's kind of all over the map. And watch my wall, because I am going to do the film. I'm literally it's a very cute film. It literally is me chasing Kiefer Sutherland. That's the whole premise of this whole thing. I'm literally chasing him for an interview and a dinner date, and it is hilarious. And I have a connection who is partnered. I was supposed to meet him twice now. And if my son hadn't been ill, I would have gone to New York. I would have met him. I would have been standing in front of him. So it's frustrating. He's very guarded. Those people keep him under very big lock and key. So this is going to be a big challenge. But then when I get him on my show, I'll just bring you back, and then we'll hook up, and then you could do photography, and life will be copacetic. Wouldn't that be great?
Great.
Exactly. We're making magic. Yay. Okay, let's talk about... I know, right? See, you're not even nervous anymore, are you? And it didn't even require booze. Like yesterday, I had booze on the show. See, and I don't do that often. But today I did it straight, and look at how good we're doing. Yay!
Look at that. Awesome.
Exactly. Now, Sin, I have to say, I always cherish my ability to be able to announce authors to the world. And so few may be unaware of the fact that in 2013, I know you authored the book called Behind the Lines, What It Really Takes to Make It as an Actor. So one of the first things I thought about when I found out about that was, hey, is this guy competent and suitable and sufficient to cover this subject? Did you feel that you were capable of that? Because I know, sometimes people are like, I'm a versed person in this. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And I'm not trying to be insulting.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. So,
what made you feel confident to do this?
Well, what made me feel competent to do it was when I first moved to LA, I was actually, and I came out here for acting, and I had a very successful theater company, off-Broadway theater company in New York that I had founded for a couple of years called the Greenwich House Theater, which included like Sylvia Miles, the late Kim Hunter, who won the Academy Award for Streetcar Named Desire. So, I was. So again, I've always been an entrepreneur. I went and started my own theater company as an actor, right? So I moved out here, and I actually became a very successful commercial actor. But I went through the trials and tribulations of every actor, of pounding the pavement, being broke, and I had some parts in some small films, and I've been cut out of pretty much everything. My mentor was Mike Nichols. Like, Mike Nichols and I were very close for a period of time. He put me in a couple of movies. Like, I was very sad when he passed away. In fact, I wrote an article for Cultural Weekly magazine, about just a personal experience with Mike Nichols. And, I was very fortunate that I had master trainers, for my acting and directing career. And, so I felt qualified having been through the process. But because I wasn't a famous actor, I thought, well, I'm still qualified having had the experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to interview experts like major casting directors, agents, and managers, because I think actors need the perspective not from another actor, but from the people who hire actors. So I felt qualified to interview people for sure. I may not have been qualified as a famous actor to tell people how to make it, but certainly casting directors, managers, agents, directors, and producers are qualified enough. So I really, talk a little bit about my experience as an actor in the book for the first couple of chapters, but then it's just interviews with, top casting directors, agents, and managers, and a writer-director named Allison Burnett, who now has this amazing film called Ask Me Anything, based on one of his novels, which he directed, and it's gotten really incredible reviews, and he's a personal friend of mine. I've known him for, over 20 years. And, if actors want to know what it takes, listen to what the professionals are telling you. So I just aggregated all of these interviews into a book to give actors useful information. But also, because I'd been in business for so long as an entrepreneur, basically my whole life, through all the careers I've had. As an actor, I was an entrepreneur because I started my own theater company. As a photographer, I was an entrepreneur because I started my own photography business, and I, have shot, on a couple of different continents. And then I became a really big print casting director as well. I was one of the top print casting directors in Los Angeles, casting actors and models in print campaigns for advertising. And then I went into then I went into startups, and then I went into advertising. So I had all this business experience, and what I realized was what makes me qualified to write this book isn't just the fact that I had been an actor with some success. I know a ton of people in the industry who are people who hire actors that can tell actors what to do, but I have business skills, and the industry is a business. So if you look at any business, you can apply the same sets of business skills to it, whether you own a restaurant, an online business, or are an actor or a dancer or a photographer. The same set of business skills are required in any business. So I was qualified to teach the business stuff. So I do a lot of public speaking, and I teach a lot of business skills to actors. You know, and acting workshops invite me to do a business night with them. In fact, one of the top acting groups, Actors Green Room, which is based in New York. They just opened an LA business literally last month. So now they're a bi-coastal business. They have like top casting directors come in and train actors. They have me come in and do business nights with the actors. And I teach them about marketing and newsletters and social media and, you know, how to engage people on social media and how to actually run your career like a business. Because, you know, and that's what people, and that's what all these professionals say in the book too. So what I'm teaching these people is just validated by casting directors, managers, and agents. You got to run it like a business.
Right.
And, you know, throughout my almost 20 years here in LA, as a photographer, as an actor, as a business person, I'm always meeting people who have, you know, look, when we go to acting school or any kind of artistic school, like whether we're you know, a painter or a dancer or a singer, nobody teaches us business skills. They teach us how to be an artist, right? Which is great. We need to hone our craft as an artist. But then what happens when we're thrown out into the world? Well, we have to learn how to market ourselves. We have to learn how to engage people in a professional way. We need to learn how to do research so we can find those casting directors we want to align ourselves with, or agents or managers, right? So there's a certain amount of business skill that's needed to navigate the industry. Because listen to this. It's called show business, meaning it's a business. There's a lot of, and it literally is a business. Look, on a set, yes, there are actors. Great. But there's also construction. There's also electrical. There's also camera department. There's directors. And above those people are the producers and the executives at the network or the studio, and then the president of the studio or the network, right? So there's all of these people, and then there's the actor. You know, there's the writer first, right? You know, the writer is the first person, right? Because without the writer, unless it's reality, right? But even those are scripted. So, you know, it's this whole industry of moving parts that has, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of people on a project, and the actor is one part of it. So in order to navigate the rest of that business, you have to know business skills to deal with all those moving parts. And, you know, I've met people who have been attorneys for their, you know, entire professional career and have quit in their 30s and 40s to pursue acting, or people in real estate who pursue acting, and they get so much further, so much faster because they understand business. You know, sure, they need to work on their craft. They're not the greatest actors, but they're doing that. They're in the classes. They're in the workshops. Right. But because they have a business background, they don't take rejection so much, right? Because in business, you know, something works out, great. Something doesn't work out, what we say is this one catchphrase. Okay, next. But, you know, as an artist, we think that if something doesn't work out, we're rejected, they don't love us, we're not good looking enough, we're not tall enough, we're not short enough, we're not whatever. They don't like my art, they don't like my voice, they don't like my, you know. Sure. But that has nothing to do with any of it, right? It's all a business decision. Right. It's all a business decision, you know. And
that's a poignant point.
Yeah, so, you know, that's why I wrote the book. Was because I wanted to empower actors to approach their careers as a business and to learn business skills that will get them further faster. You know, one big thing that we didn't have when I was an actor, you know, many years ago was social media and YouTube and Hulu and Facebook and, you know, and Funny or Die and Netflix and Twitter and, you know, Vimeo. And now there's so much content being created that you can actually create opportunities for yourself, you know, if not just to have a reel to show people. So, you know, some of the clients that I coach, you know, when they start coaching with me, because I coach actors too, You know, they say, oh, I just want to get an agent. I just want to get, you know, but they've got no credits, right? So it's going to be very hard. Or I just want to be on a TV show. I just want to guest star. Okay, well, you got to go out and you got to make something. You got to be in something because you have nothing. You've got nothing to show. So how is somebody going to market you if you've got nothing to market? And then the actor will say, well, I'm not a writer. And then I say, okay, are you in a class? Yeah. Can you tap somebody on the shoulder and go, do you write? And now you can start collaborating with people because you don't have to be the writer. You can be the actor, but you also need to be a bit of the producer by putting all the people together to produce something. And look, you put it online if it's good and you show people. And look, maybe you decide to do it as a web series or maybe whatever, right? Who knows? But at least you have something to show people so they can see what you look like, so they can see if you're funny or serious or whatever. And then, you know, if somebody's willing to take a chance on somebody, like if an agent or a manager is willing to take a chance on somebody or a casting director, they're going to take a chance on somebody that they can show a video of over someone that they can't. Because how are they going to pitch somebody to a network if they've got no video on them? Right?
Of course.
So, you know, it's just one, you know, and so in a sense, every artist, every actor is an entrepreneur. Really, when you think about it, they've got to run their career like a business as a solopreneur. So what do you have to do? You have to create stuff. You have to have a product. You're a product. You're a brand. So what do you need to do for that? You need to do material that shows us what your brand is. And then you need to be able to market your brands to the people who can hire you. Right. So, and plus, once you're being productive and proactive and creating your own and collaborating with people, you're going to feel much more empowered. You know, little does the actor work who sits around waiting for the phone to ring. If you're out there creating, if you're in first of all, you always have to be in class if you're an actor. You know, unless you're shooting something, right? But if you're not, be in class, be in a workshop, be in something, because you're going to meet other people who are doing things. And then you can collaborate. You know, sometimes your first gig isn't going to come from maybe you're going to get an agent who can maybe get you an audition, who can maybe then, you know, maybe then you'll book it. It's going to come from your networking, your relationships with your friends who are in class with you, because maybe they book something and then they go, oh, you know, Cindy would be great for this role. You know, and now you've got one line on something, right? Because that's how it works too. It's all about relationships. But, you know, actors don't know how to navigate relationships either, because everybody knows you want something from them if you're a casting director or an agent or a manager or a director or a producer. So the last thing you want to talk about is that you're an actor. So when I teach people how to engage on social media, it's you listen to the conversation of what these people are talking about and you contribute something of positive value. For instance, my friend Jamie, who's a big casting director, one of the biggest actually. She, I won't give you her last name, but she, because I don't know if she'd want that out there. But she's really a dog fanatic. She's a dog fanatic. Like, she loves dogs. She's, you know, big into dog rescue, right? So if you're an actor and you want to meet Jamie, but you follow her on social media, and she's talking about things, you listen to the conversation, and if you are genuinely interested in the same things as this person, like you are genuinely interested in dog rescue and dogs and certain breeds, and you find an article on Huffington Post or BarkBox or whatever, you say, hey, Jamie, @Jamie, here's an interesting article on dogs I thought you might like because this charity is doing great things. And now you've contributed positive emotional value to somebody, and they're going to remember that. And at the very least, the people who follow Jamie are going to see that you tweeted that, and they're going to start following you. So now you've just grown your audience.
Oh, right. Exactly. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. Isn't that funny? Yeah. Exactly. And it's amazing to me, I tell you. I do. I tell you.
I think, and, you know, that's what I try to teach actors, because actors, you know, we want to talk about our accomplishments, and that's great, but we don't want to talk about them all the time. We want to be able to talk about other things, because we want, you know, I don't know, you know, there's these things that go around, like the 15 most annoying Facebook posts, and, you know, one of them is like the person who always like is posting selfies or status updates about them. Well, I don't know, you know, I've got friends like that online too. And at a certain point, I stop looking at that stuff. But if they post an interesting article or a funny something that I'm interested in, you know, meme or whatever, I'll be more apt to look at their profile because I don't want to, and people don't want to hear about me all the time either. So I share stuff about, life and politics and, grumpy cat,
right.
and like, and I'll talk about like, hey, I'm going to be on this great, radio program today, with Citizens Chat Corner, but that's just one of many posts, and, people are going to appreciate that, because if you just talk about yourself all the time, nobody's going to be interested, right? So I got to teach actors that engaging people in social media isn't using social media as a megaphone. It's using it as a listening device and then communicating something back that's of value, right?
Correct.
So,
I would agree, definitely.
And that's just one of the things that I try to teach. Yeah. So anyway, that's a big, long thing from your question about the book. Sorry about that.
That's okay. But you know what? That gives people a sense of exactly. No, there's nothing wrong with that, because I'm a gabber too, so we work along very well. And you actually must have been psychic, because you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Of course, as it relates to Greenwich House Theater Company, because I know that you were a founding member of that. So I wanted to ask a question in reference to that. Just two things. First of all, are you still a principal force in the theater? And then second of all, I'm gathering, and you might have said this already, that some of the experiences from that endeavor were notated in that publication, meaning obviously behind the lines. So just two questions there.
So, right. So the theater company the Greenwich House Theater Company is no longer in existence. So I moved out to LA in March 1st of 95. The theater went on for about another, I want to say 9 months to a year.
Okay.
And I was really no longer involved because I made my life here in LA. And then after that it closed down. Now there is another theater company at the Greenwich House on Barrow and 7th, but that's not the same thing. I founded that company with Mike Mineta, who we went to acting school together, and he was also a Vietnam vet, and he danced with the Joffrey, so he was an amazing guy. And then the Nat Scholar, who was another friend from acting school, he was a founding member of that company as well. But I left New York, so that company, went on for a little while. We only did original material. And the artistic director, Joe, is pretty great about finding stuff, but yeah, it was sad when it but everybody went their own way,
Of course, I understand.
So that
had to ask the question. It's fine. Yeah. And to take it one step further, of course, I know that you had carried two different caps, meaning both writer and producer of a short film that was entitled 875. So, a couple questions. Now, if I were to ask you if you maintain a partiality of one of the following, which would it be? Acting, producing, or writing?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, that's really tough. I love all of it for different reasons.
Okay.
I really like problem solving, so I think producing is. I think I'm a much better producer. Especially being that I have been producing things in different forms all my life. Whether it's producing a theater company or producing a photography company or producing Pimp My Pooch or producing, all these other businesses I consult or a book. I think that's all related to producing, right? So I think probably producing because it's problem solving. I like problem solving. Now I make my own problems, obviously. But,
of course, don't we all?
I come up with my own problems to solve, but I think producing. I mean, I love writing too, but I think, I wouldn't call myself a writer. I would call myself more of a producer. I really enjoyed producing. 875 was really a fun project to do. We shot it in London. That was back in 1999 we shot it. It came out in 2000. I raised some money for it. I put together a crew here that we brought over there. We cast a couple of the roles there. And that was super fun. And that was the very first film type thing that I produced and wrote. I've gotten so much better since then. So it was definitely a great thing to be part of. But I've grown over the last 15 years.
I would hope
it's not online.
Can you catch it? It's not. Okay.
No, in fact, I need to locate the original master digital beta tapes and convert them. That's how it was back then, right? It was digital beta film because that was too expensive for our budget. So I've got to find them and convert them. And when I do, I'd love to put it online.
That would be great.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
I would love
and
that.
the director
absolutely.
of that actually had directed. Yeah. Oh, the director of that was Shelley Lazar Lee. She's actually still a really good friend of mine. She directed that project. I asked her to direct it because she had directed me in a couple of commercials, and we remained friends. So, I asked her to direct the project, and she's British, so we actually used her aunt's house in England to shoot it, which is great. Saved us a lot of money. It was actually cheaper to fly a bunch of people there and shoot it there than it would have been to shoot it here and find a location and actors. So that's why we shot it there. So, yeah.
Makes sense. I've heard that. Definitely. Yeah. Holy mackerel. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for explaining all of that.
And we got a trip to London. Yeah.
Oh, and that's even cooler because I have yet to get there. So that's absolutely awesome.
Oh,
okay, I want to switch gears a little bit, talk about something a little bit different. I myself personally navigate to New York City as almost a second home, just tons of friends, tons of great things there. And I know looking back in your past educationally, two New York schools come to mind, State University of New York City and Fiorello LaGuardia High School. A couple questions there. First, have you done additional studies beyond that? And then second of all, talk to me a little bit about your belief in this, because I hear this often. I'm a huge subscriber of this analogy, which is life experience is the best teacher. I realize, of course, that there's some accolades or some things that are derivative from having a formal education, but maybe speak to that a little bit. And then the third thing, of course, being, you act and participate as a mentor on an ongoing basis. And how has that kind of molded or changed your life?
Okay, great. So let me start with the schools.
Okay.
So yes, I went to Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School, High School of Music, Art, and the Performing Arts, most commonly known as FAME, right? That's the school that it's based on.
Right.
Which is performing arts and music and art combined into one high school back in the early 80s. So that's where I went. I was a fine art major, so I was in graphic illustration and painting and sculpting and all of that. And most of my friends were actors and dancers. But what was really great about that, it actually just got voted number one high school in New York like a couple of weeks ago. It's a public school. It's not a private school. It's a public school, which is incredible. And it's, even though it's focused on the arts, it had a very, very highly regarded academic program. They had AP classes. They had incredible academic program. And I was a decent student. I wasn't a great student. I was a decent student. And then I went to a New York State University in Oneonta, which is upstate New York, which is surrounded by farms, and it was beautiful. And I started studying photography. Well, I studied photography in college, but I started shooting when I was 17. And I was a political science major with a minor in journalism and fashion illustration. And I think for me, education was important because it gave me a foundation of how to learn and, to help and to teach me how to think critically. I'm a big advocate for education. I think education is very important. However, I think the best education anyone can have is life experience. I think, look, some of the most successful people that I know never went to college. So, I think becoming successful at something takes hard work,
Right.
And,
I agree.
And consistency and commitment, and whether you have an education or not, you're going to learn while doing. Look, when I founded my theater company, I didn't know what I was doing. I sure learned pretty quickly on what to do, right?
Right.
When I started my casting business, I'd never worked for a casting director before. But I'm like, you know what? I've been doing photography so long, and other photographers always ask me to cast stuff for them. I'm going to start I have a friend who's in production, who's always doing ads, and she wants me to cast stuff. So I started a casting business. No idea how to do that. No idea. I actually, what do you do? How do you do this? How do I tell people about me? How do I find clients to cast stuff? But, I just said, screw it. I'm going to do it. And I did, and then I, just worked at it really hard and learned as I did it and learned and would ask questions of people who did stuff like this. Right. And, I also, for a brief period of time, was the production manager of Backstage West. Backstage West at the time was the sister publication of Backstage, which was a New York publication. So, and when Backstage, it's an actor's newspaper. It's a trade paper for the acting industry. I was the production manager for that. I had no idea how to do any of that, but I, went in for a job interview, and basically said, yeah, I know how to use Photoshop and Quark, and I could lay out the newspaper. And at the time, I was working for the Hollywood Reporter as a temp. This is like 20 years ago, or maybe 15 or 16. No, it was more like 20.
Okay.
So it was a long time ago. It was when people, it was when newspapers were still doing paste-up ads.
Oh my God.
I went in, right, and I went in and said, yeah, I know how to use all this software. So I showed them some photography and some other things, nothing to do with layout or newspaper or publishing, and I got the job. And they said, you can start in 2 weeks. I said, great, because I have to leave my temp job. I need to, give the place 2 weeks. And Hollywood Reporter at the time was owned by the same company as Backstage, so it was an easy transition. Okay. So for 2 weeks, I went out and I bought books, Photoshop for Dummies, Quark for Dummies. I, got pirated versions of both softwares. I learned as much as I could in 2 weeks. I show up to this job having to be responsible for publishing the newspaper. Right?
Oh.
See, I've always lived my life by trial by fire, right? So, and even starting this business, I've never started my own, internet e-commerce business before, but I really believed in it. So Pimp My Pooch was born, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it because I have a passion for it. And I think, there's a saying that I really there's a couple of sayings I live my life by. Jump and grow your wings on the way down. Right? So, get as much education as you can, but if you don't know how to do something, the best way to learn is to just start doing it. Right. That's my opinion. Jump and grow your wings on the way down. 2, it's an old Hindi proverb. I don't know how to say it in Hindi, but it's if it works out, great. If not, even better. Now, why is that? Because if it works out, fantastic. And if not, I've gotten the education on everything that went wrong, so I know what to do better next time. So that's why I kind of don't believe in failure. I believe you either succeed at what you're going to do or you get educated on how to do it better the next time. So either way, it's a win. So for me, yes, I think education is important. But the reason I was only an okay student was I didn't learn. I'm an autodidact. I learn best when I teach myself things, and that's not true of everybody. This is just true for me. So if I'm interested in learning about something, I'll go out and I'll learn about it, and then I learn about it, and I know it really well because I had an interest in it. If I have to learn subjects where I like my mind doesn't connect with, like I'm terrible at math. I was never good at calculus because my brain doesn't work that way, right? I'm right-brained, so I think in like images and shapes and art and stuff like that. So I was always bad at math. English I was always good at because, it's creative and I could paint with words, so to speak. So, and I was an artist too. So, I think, when people figure out the best methods to learn something for themselves, whether it's formal education, formal training, or learning on their own, I think people need to choose what's best for them. Typically, the structure is you go to school, and now, look, I don't have kids yet, although we'd like to have kids. Now from all the people I know who have kids, it's like you're setting your kid up to go to like the best college possible, like in kindergarten. Like that's how society is structured now. When I think, people don't learn the same way. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people are, learn by experience. I learn by experience. I learn visually. I don't learn auditorily, so I can't sit in a 2-hour lecture, and I didn't. I cut a lot of classes because of that. But, I learn visually, I learn experientially, so I had to teach myself how to learn the things I wanted, and then I had to learn the things I wanted. So I think everybody learns differently. So if your thing is education, I think it's important. It's also important for social life. It's also important to learn how to be, to operate in the world. Looking back on my experience, knowing there's one thing that's important in education that you can't get anywhere else, if you do really well and you can write your own ticket to college, go to any college you want, go to a really good one. because what you get from that experience is the connections from when you graduate. So like, I never went to film school, but I directed I produced 875. I directed a music video. I directed some other things. But I didn't at the time have any connections in the film industry. Had I gone to USC or UCLA, I could have gone through the producing program. I could have come out with connections. So at the very least, it's not necessarily the education that you get, it's the connections that you get when you leave a university. Now, I'm sure I could have connections having graduated Oneonta. I just never used any of them except for Bill Pullman, who's an actor. He was in Spaceballs and Ruthless People, a really great comedic actor, which many people don't know. We were friends for a bit when I, came out to LA. He took me under his wing because he spoke at my graduation. So, I'm like, I want to be an actor, right? So I'm going to, so that was a connection, right? But I think, education is important for many different things, if not for the connections you get, for the experiences you have, and for the social life, and to learn how to just be a human being in the world and to be on your own. Now, the actual learning, well, that's up to the person. If you don't learn well in an education environment, still, if you can go to college, whether on scholarship or if you can afford it, or, I think, President Obama just made 2-year community college free, right? So I think that's tremendous. I think if you have the opportunity to, or at least just take continuing education classes, I think it's important because I think it's important to be well-rounded also and have a view of it makes you have a more well-rounded view of the world, which makes you more tolerant of people, which is, I don't know, that's a whole other thing, Finn.
Oh, right. I know, right? You could go on for days on that one.
Yeah, and then so I did go to, and then after Oneonta, I went to a 2-year acting conservatory program called the New Actors Workshop in New York City, which was founded by Mike Nichols. Obviously, most people know who he is, but for those of you who don't, he's an iconic director, one of the most of the 20th and of the century. And it was founded by George Morrison, who was a master teacher, and Paul Sills, who founded Second City. Whose mother was Viola Spolin, who is basically why we have improvisation of all forms today. So they were my 3 mentors. And then there was also at the school Rex Knowles and Sherry Landrum, who took over for Paul, and they were a huge influence on my life as well. And getting that education as an actor was important because I worked on my craft. And what was really incredible was a lot of the skills that I learned as an actor, I actually apply to my life. So that was an important part of my education, was the life skills I learned, not just being in an acting conservatory and college, teaching me those particular skills, but I carry through with them throughout my life. So like the first rule of improv, for instance, when you're learning improv, is always say yes. Well, that's kind of how I live my life. Because when you say yes in life, you open yourself up to opportunity. It could be very exciting and very dangerous at the same time. But I think it's worth it. So, and also when you're learning to act, you're learning to be emotionally honest. Well, guess what's important in life? Being emotionally honest, right?
Of course.
I think, I learned a lot of great life skills from all 3 of those masters. And actually all 5 of those masters, I'm including Rex Knowles and Sherry Landrum as well in that set.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I understand
perfectly.
Well put. I like that. I like your idea.
Thanks.
You're a very smart man.
Thanks. And I think I'm always a student. I do mentor people, and I think the best way to learn anything is to teach what you need to learn. Right. So if I'm going to teach somebody something, I've got to learn it even better, because I need to be the best example of it.
Right.
Going back to Project 330, that's the prime example of learning what I'm teaching. So with that blog, which is on my website, jordanancel.com/Project 330, that's a little shameless plug. But when I mentor people, not only am I teaching them things, but I'm learning from them as well, because they have their own ideas about how it should be done, or they have some idea that I may never thought of, which could improve what I'm teaching. But even more importantly, I'm so inspired by all my clients, whether it's a business client or a business that I'm consulting or a CEO or an actor or a writer, or I'm helping a couple of people write their first books, on various subjects. Right? And yeah, I'm so inspired because they all have compelling life stories, as we all do. So as a mentor, I'm so fulfilled by being able to work with these people, because not only can I help shape their lives to, giving them the tools and skills that they may not know business-wise, or just, how to. One of the things I teach is how to brainstorm with yourself, right? Because a lot of people can get blocked in terms of coming up with ideas for their business or for their book or for whatever. So I teach a skill on how to brainstorm with yourself. And what's amazing is not only do I teach them that skill, but to see their process of brainstorming always inspires me, because then I learn something new. So, being a mentor is incredibly rewarding, and being a business coach is incredibly rewarding, because I'm constantly learning myself. And if I'm going to, if I'm consulting a business and, they ask, do you know anything about my business? I say, well, first of all business basically is the same. You're just presenting business in a different way. So then what I have to do is I have to immerse myself and learn about their particular branch of business. So one of my clients who I'm helping write a book, she's launching a skincare line, and she's also a famous actor. She was on Breaking Bad. I'm so inspired because she's got such an incredible life story. And I have to learn about skincare because I'm helping her write her book. And her book is not about necessarily skincare, but that's what she's doing, right? So, I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly in school. So I love that. I'm constantly challenging myself. I think the day we stop learning is, kind of sad.
The day you're dead. Well, that's the day you're dead, pretty much.
Really.
It's kind of like life is that way.
Yeah, one of my business coaches, has the saying, if you're not growing, you're dying. I always want to be growing.
And you are growing and growing and growing and growing with each paragraph that we talk about here. Now, I want to switch gears, and I want to tell people nothing business relative about you. So I'm going to give them, as I call it, intimate items regarding Mr. Ancel. I want people to listen because I've actually creeped on your page, so I've learned a few things about you. Like, for instance, I know that you're a fan of the San Francisco 49ers, which is awesome because Colin Kaepernick is hot and cute and he has great tattoos, so that gives you like a knock-up in my book. You enjoy the musical stylings of Johnny Cash. Who doesn't love Johnny Cash? But even more cooler, we are both similar in that we both saw Fleetwood Mac. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't even talk. I mean, if
Weren't
I could interview her,
amazing?
oh my God. Right?
Oh my God.
They
are
never age.
amazing.
They are
that
amazing.
I know, that woman is 66 years old. She looks incredible. Right. She sounds incredible.
I know.
Like the warmth that was exuded from the stage. Like that's a perfect example of how, they're not performing for themselves. They're performing for us. They have us, the audience, and their fans in mind, and that's what makes them so incredible.
Exactly. And I'm just like, oh, my God, I was so excited. So I've seen them, obviously, so we have that in common as well. I can also mention that you were a fan of the movie Transcendence, which I absolutely love, with Johnny Depp. Yes, we want him on the show. Yes, I'd like to date him. General Hospital, used to love that show because Rick Springfield. Oh, my God, my teen crush, who is still around, so excited.
I was a kid, too.
Oh, my God. How cool is that, right? And he's still rocking at 60.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. Dude is cool.
I also see that you're a fan of Sit, Stay, Ride, and I know you're going to tell me that you listened to my interview with him, Eric Risto. I interviewed him.
I know.
Not so long ago. Did we listen to that show? Really?
We did.
Did we listen, or are we bullshitting? Because I can sometimes
We're bullshitting a little bit.
We're bullshitting a little bit to get voice. Damn, that's a great show.
I didn't listen to the whole thing. I listened to a couple of excerpts from the show. Okay. I try to tune in.
Was I okay?
You're always great. You're always great.
Oh
I've
God,
listened to
I'm
bits.
Right now.
Preparing for this interview, I listened to pieces of your show, various shows, only because I wanted to know what I was getting myself into.
Oh boy. Oh,
also,
boy. And what did you get yourself into?
Like I said, if I'm going to be working with somebody, I need to know about them. Now,
right.
Look, I'm running several businesses here. So do I have time to listen to all the shows? No. But I can listen to bits and pieces. So, yeah.
Sure, of course. I figured that one just because you seem to like Sid Stay Right. Eric's he's a terrific guy. And hopefully Dana and I and he will be able to put something together because I want to do a live interview with him. And we could do a screening of the film. I could do a book signing. It's very exciting. So I'm hoping we'll get that put together.
On-camera interview. I think you should do a live on-camera interview with him because all three of you have personalities. And you might want to capture that on camera. Yeah.
Thank you. In fact, Dana, when you're listening to this, write this down because she has nothing else to do, I know, because that woman just is like 180 miles an hour all the time. But I was very excited to meet Eric. It was a great interview. Now, I wanted to mention your hobbies that I've notated so far. He roller skates. The fact that you play Galaga, oh, my God, you went immediately made a top 10. I'm like, he does Atari. I'm like, who doesn't do Atari? I love Atari. I'm like, my God.
I have a funny story about Galaga. And music. It's all the same story.
Oh, my God. Okay.
So, I grew up in New York City, in Manhattan. I was born and raised. But when I was a little kid, when I was 7 years old, my mom had bought a little house in Woodstock, New York, with a little inheritance money that she had gotten. And at the time, and it was a tiny house. I mean, little, and it was Woodstock in the 70s, so real estate wasn't expensive like it is today. And when I was a little kid, we used to go up there on weekends and I would spend my summers there. And we lived, so there was our house, and then a little tiny road. We lived on a dead end street. And then across from our house was a field. On the other side of the field, they opened this thing called the Pinball Palace. And it was just the very first arcade I had ever experienced when I was 8 years old. And it was run by this guy named Brett, who was a young guy at the time. And they had pinball machines, and they had video games, upright video games. And I fell in love with Galaga. And I was there all the time, so much so I was the annoying little kid, bugging all the teenagers, right? So Brett, who owned the Pinball Palace, he used to say, to try to get rid of me, he used to send me on errands. Kid, go get me an ice water or a lemonade from the diner down the street, and I'll give you a couple of quarters to play video games. So basically I had a summer job. But basically what I would do is I'd spend all those quarters on video games. I became, I used to, at the age of 9 years old or 10 years old, I can't remember. No, maybe it was 13. Yeah, it was 13 years old because that's when I discovered Galaga. And I used to rule that machine. I was able to flip that machine back to zero at 13 years old. And one time, and so, I'd run out of quarters. And, video game etiquette was if you ruled the machine, the person who is next up, it's like pool in a pool hall. You put or a bar. You put your quarters on, and you have to play the person. And if you beat the person, you then take over the machine, and the next person who wants to play has to play you, right? But nobody could beat me. So I used to literally lean against the machine, waiting on people to come play me.
Oh my God! Really?
I was not a badass when I was a kid. I was such a little punk.
Okay.
And so one time, I don't know if you remember this singer named Robbie Dupree. He had a hit song called Hot Rod Hearts, which my mom used to listen to, so I knew the song. And she had the album, so I knew what he looked like. Well, Woodstock, home of big recording artists, because that's where all the studios were, even though the festival was never there, that's where all the recording artists used to go record their music. Right. Robbie Dupree came in to play Galaga. And he's like, hey, kid, do you mind if I play that machine? And I looked at him like, I don't mind. You got to beat me to keep it, though. He's like, okay. So literally, he must have spent $5 in quarters trying to beat me at that game. Everybody was laughing their ass off. I don't think he ever came back to the Pinball Palace. Sorry, Robbie, if you're out there.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, like I said, and it's unusual to see that, and I love that the flashback and the throwback stuff is coming back, which is absolutely awesome to see. The other thing I wanted to notate is you make whiskey barbecue sauce. Anybody who makes any kind of alcohol, anything, is like my best friend. Oh, my God. Is that original? You do your own little recipe thing?
How did you find out about that? Oh, my God. I don't publicize that at all.
It's my job, honey. It's my job.
Oh, my God.
This is why they come to me. They make me find things. Well, there you go.
This is crazy. How do you know this?
Spill it.
Psychic.
Spill it.
Okay. So this is how it came about.
Yes.
You know, I work out of the home office, so I'm here a lot. And you know, one day one day I was just I'm always super busy. Right. But one day I'm just like I had been forgetting to eat for like lunch for like a week. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hungry, but I'm craving barbecue. Now I could like, you know, go 7 blocks and go to the barbecue place and wait online because it's like a hit place with the hipsters, right? And I'm not a hipster, by the way. So, you know, I don't have enough beard growth or tattoos. But you know, I'm like, I gotta have barbecue sauce. Fuck it, I'm just gonna make. Can I say that? Sorry.
Yes, you can say fuck it.
Okay. I'm like, I'm just gonna make my own barbecue sauce. So literally, I just made my own barbecue sauce. Like, and I'm like, I like whiskey barbecue sauce. I like, you know, like sort of Jack Daniel-y kind of flavors. So, you know, I have Jack Daniels on my bar. So, you know, I pulled together some ingredients. I looked up barbecue sauces online, various ones to see ingredients. I chose the ones that were like what I thought all the flavor profiles would be best together because I'm a foodie, so I'm always like experimenting with stuff because I like to cook. Okay. So, you know, I had a bunch of ingredients in my fridge just because I have ingredients, and I whipped up a barbecue sauce that I personally fell in love with. And, you know, I like texted my wife immediately like, oh my God, I'm starting a barbecue sauce company. And my wife, as supportive as she is of not just my dreams and my plans, but all of my schemes as well. And I'm a schemer. She texted me back, you're fucking nuts. So I have not started a barbecue sauce company. It is on the list at some point in my life to do, but you know, so every once in a while I'll make this barbecue sauce. You know, only a few people have had it and really like it, but you know, I have no room on my plate for any new business like that at the time. But yes, I love barbecue. So just experimenting and trying out recipes for barbecue sauce like really lights me up. One day I'll perfect it and maybe I'll bottle it. And one day, and you know, I know somebody who has like a sauce company, so maybe I'll send it to him and be like, hey, what do you think?
Awesome.
I don't know.
And then you send it to Wisconsin to the girl that busted you on air and said,
there you go.
I'll send you.
Yeah, I'll send you some barbecue sauce.
I love you. You're wonderful. See, now that'd be a lesson to you. You never know when you get.
This is crazy.
It's what I do. This is the reason why people come and say, Sin, you should have that guy or that girl on your show because I want to be different. I think if I'm going to do something like this in a format like this, I owe it to you and myself to be different because then at some point somebody's going to say, you know, I like that girl because she's not your average Katie Couric or your average, you know, somebody on television that just, I want you to be well-rounded. And part of you is that. Yeah. Part of you is what you do personally. Part of it is what you do professionally. So, yes, the score to me, yes, you didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
Yay!
Wow. Look out, people. Susan's got your number. She's really got your number.
That's right. So think about that.
Oh, my God.
See, this is why
I'm almost
taking
afraid
a date.
of what else you know about me.
No.
Now I'm scared again. What else do you have?
Oh, cut it out, Jordan. Have I been nice to you? Come on. We've been together 90 minutes. It's been good so far. And I only have 3 more questions, so be happy. There you go. So, okay, we're going to turn a little bit, talk a little bit, because I know that you garnish gifting to worthy endeavors. And truth to the said theory is, of course, your current choices. I know you sit on the board of both Game Nation Incorporated, I should say, and Fresh Charities Incorporated as well. Additionally, you know, your presence was planted at the Rescue Trains Race for the Rescues. So,
yes.
I know that you have this burning belief in, of course, rescuing of our dogs. And, of course, I also know that you have a very handsome pup named Chauncey because I've seen Chauncey has been on your page. I've seen that dog all over the place.
Yeah.
So I got a couple questions.
Yeah, he's a sweet boy. He has his own Facebook page, by the way, if you want to friend him.
Oh, my God,
he's
really?
He's got like 800 friends. Yeah. Chauncey loves
we have to put it on that list.
And yeah, he's got his own Facebook. He hasn't been on social media a lot lately because he's working on his talk show. Ideas.
Really? Does he have a hard time coming up with ideas? Yeah, I could give him a few ideas. Let me say this much.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
But he's got his own. He's got like close to 800 friends on that page. I don't know most of those people. I don't know how they find my dog. It's hilarious.
See that when you know a lot of times, obviously. Again, and I've said this before, you know, you go on someone's personal page, you learn a lot, and I know that, of course, public figures, quote unquote, you're supposed to have a professional page, and your page, and it's just like, you know what, that's the first place I went to creep on you was your page because you're more naked there, literally, in a sense, naked there, more so than you're going to be in any other form as far as that goes. Now, I want to mention, of course, we take it a step further that Jordan obviously jumped to help his cause by creating Pimp My Pooch. Now, to those that don't know, Pimp My Pooch is an actual website which posts daily money-saving deals for dogs. And there's also added incentives for those who actually purchase and share the offers, I should say, because they're offered products for free in return. So I have a couple different questions here. Now, is it Jordan himself? Do you actually both research and then decide what you're going to post every day, or do you have a crew of people that does that with you?
Are you talking about in terms of the products or our social media stuff?
Yes. As far as all of that, you know, as it's relative to Pimp My Pooch, everything.
Got it. Sure. Okay. So Pimp My Pooch, and if you want the URL, it's pimpmypooch.com. So I curate all the products that are on the site personally. So, I went to Super Zoo, which was one of the largest pet trade shows in the country. It happens in Vegas every summer. I went to the last one, which is where I met Dana. Now, I'd been introduced online to Dana before, but I met Dana there. And, you know, I went and I met all the vendors, and I, you know, handpicked the products that we want because they have to meet certain requirements, especially for the food items. All the food items have to be all natural, and they have to be made here in the States. And then all the other items just have to be really useful, really cool, and of really excellent quality. So, you know, like no crap products on the site. So I curate all the products, and we launched November 1st, but I just want to say that it was a soft launch so that we could beta test the format, the platform, see what people like, get feedback. We're doing an actual hard launch in a couple of months. We're still trying to decide on the date, but it's not just going to be products where people can save money on. And it's products that everybody, you know, uses for their dogs. It's treats, it's dog beds, it's bowls, leashes, handcrafted leather collars, and everything is discounted because, you know, it's like Groupon, but only awesome dog stuff. And a portion of our profits go to save dogs, which is why I started the company, right? So it's not just going to be products. It's going to be local services, too. So if you bring your dog to the groomer, we're going to have deals in local cities, deals on groomers, doggy daycare, veterinarians. So you get to save money on everything for your dog because, look, stuff is expensive. You know, I'm a dog parent. I know how expensive this stuff is. You know, I know people's pain. We want to pamper, we want to pimp our pooches, but it gets really costly. So maybe they can't have the best dog bed. Well, maybe if it's offered at 25% off with free shipping, you can. And then your dog is more comfortable. Now, our dog sleeps in our bed at night, but during the day, he's got like basically a bed in every room in the house, right? Because he's older too. He's 17. He needs to be able to be comfortable. So, you know, people who want the best supplements for their dogs. You know, we've got this incredible supplement called Bonio, which is, which I met not at Super Zoo, but at another event. Bonio is like a bone supplement, but it was created by one of the most prominent osteoporosis doctors for humans. He created the supplement for dogs, and it's phenomenal. And we sell it on our site from time to time, cheaper than you can get it anywhere else. And they still make their money too. And a portion of profits go to save dogs. So look, you know, I'm trying to use commerce as a way to not only make money, but to be good and do good in the world, which I believe every company should. And every company that I consult has to do that as well. So I have standards for the companies that I consult and for the boards of companies that I sit on. And if they don't and they want me, then I make them. Right? I make them do good in the world. I make them align.
Gotcha.
I make them align with a cause, you know, that also is right for their brand and that they actually believe in, right? Because if you believe in something, you're going to support it. So, you know, every kind of company that I either work for or have done has to be from a purpose-driven place. It can't be just, oh, well, we're a company, we just want to increase profitability and, you know, answer to our shareholders. You know, yes, companies have to do that. But if you come at it from a purpose-driven place, then you're actually doing good in the world. Look, the pet industry is a $60 billion a year industry. You know, about half of that money is spent on dogs, right?
Wow.
So if we're making that much money, now we're not making that at Pimp My Pooch. We're a startup. Just FYI. We'd like to, but we're a long way off from that. We're a startup company.
I hear you.
So,
okay.
but if that type of industry makes so much money, then we can certainly give back to the community that we're making the money off of, which is the dogs, right? So,
right.
And the dog parents. We're helping people save money. We're improving the quality of lives for dogs by offering the best products and services at a discount that people can afford. Because people need to, look, money is tight for everybody, right? We need to help people out. And in the process, we're donating to charities that support saving dogs' lives.
Right.
So I think
exactly
we can use commerce. So if we're going to buy a product from somebody, if that purchase can help save a life, even if it's like a company that helps save human lives, obviously that's important too. Like I'd much rather give my money to a company, maybe even pay a little more for it if I know that some of the profit is going to go to save a life or improve something. The big issues that are close to my heart. Yes, dogs, right? But it's education for humans and children, especially children's education, teen education, and health. Because I've had my share of health problems in my life. And so I know what it's like to go through health scares and be okay. And I want to help create healthy, educated people who are inspired to live their best lives. That's my purpose in life, right? So every company that I'm involved with has to do that in some way. Pimp My Pooch helps save lives. We also help educate people on dog care. We offer the best products for that. Game Nation, that's all about family entertainment, being entertained with your family, creating closer family bonds, again, having that love and support and, being able to give back to those communities, those family communities of education and things like that, right? Standing O Project is another company that I consult. O meaning ovation, right? It's a website. It's a music service that actually pays musicians more money. So it helps get musicians' art and creativity out into the world, right? Because, if you're on Pandora or Spotify, which are great services, they don't pay musicians very much. Standing O Project pays musicians 50% of everything. So that's huge for musicians. So it's got to add. So any company that I consult or work with or start has to add positive value to the world, to the community that it's serving. FreshCharities.com, for instance, it's basically a social media site. It's for charities. It puts charities together with people who want to be philanthropic, because often we want to be philanthropic, but there's just so much to choose from. It's social media for social change, and that's an incredible organization. And one of the founders just got back from the Philippines to talk to people over there about it, and they're going nuts about it. It's becoming really huge and really popular, and that's a for-profit company that is helping all kinds of charities. And what's really great about Fresh Charities is it takes lesser-known charities that are doing good in the world, because they don't have marketing budgets, they don't have staff, they don't have, enough hands to get. So they're help spreading the word about these charities, because you can donate your money or your time to help, right? That's the best way to help a charity. If you can't donate money, you help them out. So Fresh Charities finds those people with the right charity for them and matches them up. So if you haven't been on Fresh Charities, go check out FreshCharities.com. It's an incredible organization. If you're a charity and you need more exposure, check out FreshCharities.com. It's a really wonderful company. I think, having chosen this purpose for myself, because I believe that people don't find their purpose in life. I believe you have to choose your purpose in life. Just like people don't find happiness in life, you have to choose to be happy. Now, this is just my opinion. It works for me.
Okay. Okay. That's all right.
If you choose to be happy, no matter what life throws at you, look, life is difficult and hard, and sometimes it sucks, and at the same time, it's amazing every day. right? Because there's always opportunity that we can create for ourselves. There's always the sun. There's always, people that we can surround ourselves with that make us, feel better if we're down. I think if you're going through health problems, choosing to surround yourself with positive people and doing things that are healthy will help you feel better. So you have to choose to be happy, and in that same vein, you have to choose your purpose. And what the nice thing about choosing a purpose, like wanting to, inspire people to live their best lives, is that gets translated through all the companies that I've either started or worked with, or even as an artist, right? The inspiration for the book, Behind the Lines, was to inspire actors to be more empowered to have more successful careers. The purpose for pimpmypooch.com is to inspire people to be able, to inspire people to get the best stuff for their dogs by making it affordable to them and also saving dogs' lives. So there's like a through line with everything I do, which comes from my purpose. And I think, people go through life not knowing what their purpose is, but we don't really introspect on what we want in life and what we want to contribute to the world. And I think when you say the problem with LA, or when I say the problem with LA in general, and this is a broad generalization, is that people are self-centered and self-absorbed, it's because, we're not thinking of, what are we contributing to the world? It's what are we getting? What can we get from it, right? Which goes to my earlier comment. A better question to ask in life, in relationships, in business, is not what am I getting? It's what am I giving? You look at the collapse of the economy of 2008, when the banks were pillaging the public and the housing collapse happened because they knew they were selling bad loans and bad mortgages. That was people at the top going, what more can I suck out of this company and this society? Now imagine if a company went into business going, what more can I give to people? You're still going to be successful. You're going to be more successful because when you set people up to be successful, you and then in return are going to be successful. This is a team effort. We're all in this together. I really believe that.
Of course. I agree.
I think, and that's what I teach in my business coachings. That's what I teach in my personal life coaching. That's how I operate all my businesses, and that's how I operate all my relationships. What more can I give? So,
I like that.
I think if everybody came from that place, I think that if everybody came from a place of what more can I give to the world rather than what more can I take from it, there'd be a lot more. Look, I'm the son of a hippie and a businessman. So, I want
perfect combination.
I want peace and love, I want world peace and love, and it's okay to make money teaching that.
Exactly. I understand.
But I really want those things. But I really want those things. So
I understand exactly.
Yeah, and again, to go back to Project 330, it's to be the example of that as well, not only in my business life, but in my personal life, in my, to show people how I operate in my relationships, how I treat myself physically, and how I operate my businesses, because they all come from that place of wanting to contribute more rather than suck more out.
Exactly. No, I understand. All right, we're down to the final two questions. Now, one thing I wanted to make sure to mention, I think it's kind of ironic, and I heard this via the grapevine, and I won't tell you from where I heard it or how. Jordan, of course, at one time had been shooting commercials, some of the examples being GNC, Budget, and A-Express. I heard that you may merge back towards that particular business. I was just curious if that's true, and if so, if there's a special reason for that.
Well, look, I love the entertainment industry. I do. There's a stigma on it. I think there's some amazing things about it, and everybody, 98% of the people that I've worked with have been absolutely spectacular, wonderful human beings. And was an actor for many years. I love actors. I wrote a book for them to help them be more professional and more inspired and more successful, and I teach that to them. I love giving back to that community, and I love being in it too. So, I'm not necessarily pursuing being an actor, but, my wife is the vice president of an agency, and, her commercial department, they'll say, hey, we've got an audition, you write for it, do you want to go on it? If I'm not working on something else, if I have time and it doesn't detract from my focus, I'll go on it. If I book it, great. If I don't, that's okay too. I've got other things going on.
Okay.
And, so like last year I did actually a national campaign for GNC because I happen to have a free afternoon. I happen to go on the commercial, and audition. And you know what? I happen to book it, Awesome. The year before that, I did 3 voices on an animated feature film called Champions of Oz, and that's going to be released on DVD. I'm not sure what year. They're still illustrating it. So, I don't pursue it, but if it comes up and I have time to do it, great. Now, that said, I have written some screenplays. And I do that creatively. I because I've been doing business stuff for so long, and really immersed myself in it, I have found that I need to express myself more creatively lately, which is another reason for this blog. So I've gone back to doing, pencil sketches, and, I've gone back to doing a little creative writing, and I'm writing this blog. And, if a screenplay comes out of it, great. If not, that's fine too. I'm talking, a good friend of mine is Brittany Underwood. She is a TV star. She was on Hollywood Heights. She was on One Life to Live. She's done a bunch of TV movies. She's also a big recording artist. She and I are good friends. She did our Indiegogo campaign video with Kristen Alderson of General Hospital. Well, Brittany and I are talking about maybe we'll produce a project or a web series or something, but this is all just ideas, right? I mean, nothing's concrete. I've got plenty on my plate right now. Pimp My Pooch, because that's my primary focus right now, making this business really successful. I still have my coaching because I really am fulfilled by that, and I like helping people. Sure. So those are my 2 big priorities, are Pimp My Pooch, number 1, and my coaching programs for people who need help.
Gotcha. No, I don't want to forget this.
Cool, but I'm not necessarily,
opposed to it. I get it. Okay. No, I don't want to forget to do this. I just want you to listen in, and I want to make sure I didn't forget anything here. And this is all the ways to find Jordan. Your website's being www.jordanancel.com, www.pinchmypooch.com, you like that? killerphotography.com. You are on Twitter, 2 different places, which is at Jordan Ancel, and of course and that's killer-photos. You have a Facebook page, that's your personal page, along with the Pimp My Pooch Facebook page, along with the Killer Photography Facebook page. What am I missing?
Yeah, so, that reminds me. So you asked, do I have a team of people? So I do have a social media person. She's a VP of social media. Her name is Joan Peltzer. She handles the social media for Pimp My Pooch. So all the wonderful posts you see on Twitter and Facebook for Pimp My Pooch, that's Joan. Shout out to Joan. She introduced me to Dana, so thank you for the introduction, Dana, Joan. Okay. So we have, so I have a personal page for Facebook, but that's really and for close acquaintances. I do have my Jordan Ancel page, which is the one where you like it rather than become friends with it, right? That's where I send everybody to, engage with me if I don't know you and want to engage with me. We have Pimp My Pooch Facebook and Twitter account, which is at Real Pimp My Pooch. We also have Instagram. I'm on Instagram as well, which is at Jordan Darin, Darin, and I just take, random photos of stuff. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on all the social media. If you just Google me, you'll find me. I mean, it's not.
I wanted to make sure we didn't miss anything as far as that goes. Now, I have one more question. There's only 2 things we have left to do. I have one more question, and then afterwards, I'm going to tell you it's a ritual on my show. If you listen to my show, you know at the end of the show, I tell you what I think of you. So you get to look forward to hearing what I have to say. I would be nervous, Jordan. But first, I have one last question, which, of course, to me is just a question of intrigue, and I'm sure that listeners would want to hear your input on this. As I understand it, at some given point in time, you were blessed and very fortunate to work with the infamous Robin Williams. And obviously, of course, that was one of a very sad deaths for myself, obviously, because I'm a long-time sufferer of depression and things like that. And so I was just curious, some have said we've worked with them and have said, there's that underlying sadness. And there were some people that are like, oh, you'd never know that. So I just wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, so I worked with him briefly on The Birdcage, which was directed by Mike Nichols, and that's how I came to be on that film. And, I didn't, I was just able to talk to him a little bit, and he was so warm and just like you know when you meet somebody and you go, God, you're just such a lovely human being. Like that's what I thought about him. He was very soft spoken, kind of introverted, and the first time I had engaged with him on set, I didn't know if it was because he was in character, he was thinking about, you know, what his scene was or whatever, you know. But then I realized, oh, that's just him, because I was able to observe him throughout the day, and you know, he's very, you know, very privately held person, but very approachable at the same time. And you know, the first time I approached him on set, you know, I was really nervous. You know, I mean, I was like 20-something, and I'd grown up watching him. He was one of my idols, and still is. And you know, I said, I'm sorry, James, I just, you know, I just wanted to tell you just how much I admire you. I grew up loving you. I still do. I always will. I hear that all the time. He goes, actually, I don't, and I really appreciate you saying that. And he shook my hand, and he patted me on the shoulder, and he's like, you know, I hope you're having a good time on the project. And I said, yeah, you know, this was an amazing experience. And, you know, we had a few interactions like that. And, you know, then he'd, you know, do something and he'd crack a bunch of people up and be really funny. And, you know, because that's who he was. And he was just a really, you know, I could not tell necessarily if he was, you know, suffering from any kind of depression. I just thought he was introverted, and he compensated by being this gregarious person at times. You know, so, you know, so I never really got that from him, but having heard everything about him over the years, and that he would even talk about on, you know, in interviews at certain points, and then obviously this tragic suicide, I can now see it in hindsight. So, you know, but I'm just so grateful to have met him, to have worked with him, and to have just gotten a moment with one of my idols. And yeah, it was really, you know, again, I feel like, you know, I'm a very fortunate individual, having met so many incredible people in my life. You know, famous or not, you know.
Of course,
so,
definitely. No,
yeah.
I understand completely. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. All right, we're now at that moment. Now you actually get to rest now, and you get to listen to me, because I get to tell you what I think of Jordan now. You've had this wonderful opportunity. Hopefully I've done you justice. So these are my overall impressions, and I tend to want to do this at the end of the show, because I think to people who are first meeting you now and they've had this glimpse of you in, you know, a little less than 2 hours or whatever, they get to learn about, you know, they've hopefully gotten an introspective, you know, the personal side, the professional side of things. I myself, as the host, I get to formulate my impression on a couple of different things. First of all, I go behind your back. Excuse me, I ask people about you. I do my research, and you can see I do my homework very well.
I swear to God, you could be like a private investigator or something.
Thank you. Well, what do you think journalists do, right? I mean, what do they do? It's very rare. No one ever creeps on me, which I find unusual, because I'm like, oh my God, for all this time that I go and I creep on people and such, I'm very public. So, I mean, you could find out lots of things about me, but I'm very transparent. You know, there's always this curiosity I have of digging things out. So the impression I'm about to give you now is just on the basis of what I've learned by researching, what I've now learned by listening to you on my radio show, what I've seen on your Facebook page, and just my overall impressions. So to me, listen, this is Jordan Ancel, and whatever you do not cry. I swear, every guest comes on this damn show and they say, you know, she made me cry. I made Ed Roman cry like 3 times yesterday. I'm like, really, people? Let's perk it up.
Oh, my God.
So prepare yourself. I hope are you sitting down? Well, you should be. Okay, so these are my impressions of Jordan. This I'll tell you first and foremost. Obviously, this is the second time in a row this week that I've done a radio show where I've found myself to be not only bewildered but also very nervous and frazzled in a good way. And I say that because most of the time, the higher up the ante, so to speak, proverbially, as it relates to business and as it relates to charity and on a personal side of things, when you have those three in line and in line so perfectly and so well and so established as someone as Jordan does, it's overwhelming to me. First of all, I'm very proud and impressed by the fact that I'm getting to know somebody who is part hippie and part business, and you reflect that so much more than I think you realize that you do. You're parallel on both sides of the fence. I'm not done. You're parallel on both sides of the equation, which is wonderful. Your love, and when I say love, I mean I feel that you actually love in every part of of your life. I can feel how much you love your wife. I can feel how much you love your business, your acting, your blooming and blossoming, young minds, old minds, all minds alike, as it relates to your products and as it relates to your beliefs. I find you to be extraordinarily humble, and I said that yesterday about Ed, too. I'm always bewildered and baffled by the amount of humility somebody can possess when they are so accomplished and over-accomplished and over-talented and over-intelligent. You are respectful and wonderful and engaging, and you know what you want to say and how you want to say it. And to me, I find that very impressive. My hope when I come to L.A. is that in meeting all the freaks that I know, and I mean that in the most loving fashion, I hope to be able to put Jordan on my list of lovely professional freaks that I would love to meet face-to-face. If nothing else, because I can get whiskey barbecue sauce, because I can watch Transcendence with him, and because I can hang and feel okay even if I have a little too much weight or I'm not perfect or I'm not this or I'm not that, because you're so accepting and so lovely and so wonderful, and it's been my true delight. And I do hope that you consider over time becoming my actual real friend, because I would just love to know you, the guy behind the pooch.
Oh, absolutely, Cindy. This is, oh my God, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, don't cry. Don't do it. Don't be a smart aleck.
Oh my God. I'm gonna try not to.
Okay, smarty pants. I do hope that it's been great. I do.
Oh, this has been wonderful. I mean, thank you. I mean, I'm honored to be on the show and to know you and to be friends with you on Facebook. I do look forward to meeting you in person. And yeah, if you're ever in LA, of course, hit me up. Come over to our house for dinner. And, you know,
that would be lovely.
I mean, we're just,
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
I would love that,
and
I would
so
love
much.
to see. Yeah. Oh, of course. And certainly what will happen is, of course, once I end this interview shortly, I'm going to go ahead and in the next 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to post up all of your information where everybody can find you online, as well as my impressions of you, so that this way it's all over the map. And let your fans and followers know in about an hour, I think it takes about an hour, hour and a half, this becomes an archived episode. So just because people haven't listened, and I'll put this link on your page as well, just because they haven't listened doesn't mean that they can't re-listen all year round. Definitely so. And please, don't be a stranger, because I keep my friends very close for a reason. And anytime you want to come back on and bullshit for 2 hours, feel free. That's what I'm here for. I'll find your details about you, Jordan. Oh, yes, not a problem at all.
I'm going to start making up wild stories.
Oh, my God, really? And he's going to be like, wait, I researched that broad and I found this out, so there you go, honey. Touche back to you, right? Hey, what can I say? It has been truly, truly wonderful. And look forward to all my stuff. Look for my postings, all that good stuff. I'll let your fans and followers know. I'll let you get back to your Friday.
Thank you.
Yay.
Sin, thank you so much. I'm so grateful and honored for being on your show. And, you know, I'm going to encourage everybody I know to just listen to not just mine, but all your shows.
You're very sweet.
So,
thank you so
you're
much.
really wonderful. You're such a gracious host. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Anytime, my dear. And my best to your wife. I look forward to meeting her. You have yourself a wonderful weekend. And like I said, look for my stuff shortly.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
All right,
Cindy.
sweetheart.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, kids, that was Jordan Ancel's interview. Thank you so much, first and foremost, to Jordan for taking the additional time, because typically I know we usually have about an hour-plus interview or so. So it was absolutely fascinating to learn about the man behind the mogul, so to speak. Although I started this interview saying this, once again, oh, my God, Dana Humphrey, you bring me the best constantly over and over and over again, and that's probably because you are the best. I miss you very much. I'm coming to New York at the end of this month instead of now, so be excited and looking forward to that and seeing your beautiful face. Leaving you with one final note. I'm not 100% positive. When I jump off of my show, I'm going to be approaching all the SOA admins. So watch my pages to see. We might be doing a Sun Spotlight show on Sunday, which is getting all the SOA admins together with a few surprise guests and talking about Sons of Anarchy, the groups, how they affect society, how they affect culture, community, and lastly, of course, talking about the finale in the show itself. So like I said, keep track of all my pages. Thanks so much for listening, and hopefully we'll see you guys on Sunday.
What you doing? Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop! At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.